Helping Jayson Tatum cost her a job, but what she gained the next day changed everything she thought she knew about her future. At just 23 years old, Emma Carter was already feeling stuck. With a psychology degree gathering dust on her shelf, she worked long hours at a small-town diner called Cherry Hill Eats to make ends meet. Bills came faster than her paycheck, and her cramped studio apartment was a constant reminder of dreams put on hold. The diner, tucked into a quiet corner of Main Street, wasn't much to look at. The faded sign out front creaked in the wind, and the inside smelled of burnt coffee and sizzling bacon. It was the kind of place where regulars lingered over cheap meals, sharing the same old stories with anyone who would listen. Emma knew all their faces and names. Her days started early and ended late, filled with the same routine: wiping tables, refilling coffee cups, and juggling plates of pancakes and eggs. While the work was repetitive, Emma always made time for small acts of kindness. She made sure to bring Mr. Henderson extra butter for his toast without him asking, and she always had a kind word for the elderly woman who ordered tea every morning. Even when she was tired, Emma found it hard to ignore the struggles of others. It was just who she was, a naturally empathetic person who wanted to make people's lives a little brighter, even in small ways. Despite her efforts, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that life was passing her by. She had once dreamed of using her degree to help young people, maybe as a counselor or mentor. But now, every day felt the same, and she wondered if she'd ever escape the grind. Little did she know, one ordinary shift was about to change everything. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon at Cherry Hill Eats, the kind of day when time dragged, and the only sound was the clinking of coffee cups and the low murmur of regulars sharing stories. Emma Carter wiped down the counter for the third time, glancing at the clock. It wasn't even lunchtime, and the diner was already starting to feel like a long shift. Then it happened: the bell above the door jingled, and the quiet hum of the diner shifted instantly. Emma glanced up, expecting another regular, but instead, a tall man stepped inside, flanked by two security guards in dark suits. She recognized him almost immediately: Jayson Tatum, the basketball star. His face was unmistakable. He was one of the biggest names in sports, and the last person Emma expected to see in her small-town diner. The room froze for a moment, and the whispers started. People leaned toward each other, trying to confirm what they were seeing. Phones appeared as some patrons tried to discreetly snap photos, but the presence of his security guards deterred most of them. Jayson seemed to sense the attention. His shoulders were slightly hunched, and his eyes darted around the room, clearly uncomfortable with being the center of everyone's focus. Emma noticed this right away, her natural empathy kicking in. While others stared in awe, she grabbed a menu and approached his table calmly, offering him a warm smile as if he were just another customer. "Hi there," she said gently, her tone soft and unassuming. "What can I get started for you today?" Jayson looked up at her, his expression guarded but grateful. "Just a coffee, please," he said quietly. Emma nodded, jotting it down without hesitation. "I'll be right back," she said, keeping her demeanor casual. As she walked to the kitchen to prepare his order, she could feel the eyes of every customer in the diner following her. When she returned with the coffee, Jayson's security guards were murmuring amongst themselves, clearly strategizing. Emma caught snippets of their conversation. They wanted to move Jayson to a more private spot, away from the prying eyes and raised phones. Without waiting for them to decide, Emma stepped in. "We've got a booth in the back corner," she suggested, pointing toward the quieter side of the diner. "It's out of the way, and I'll make sure no one bothers you." Jayson glanced at his security guards, who exchanged skeptical looks before nodding reluctantly. "Thank you," he said, his voice low but sincere. Emma quickly cleared the booth and brought Jayson his coffee, drawing the blinds slightly to shield the table from outside cameras. She noticed how his shoulders seemed to relax just a little, and she gave him a reassuring smile before stepping away. For the next 20 minutes, Emma worked as if nothing unusual was happening. She refilled drinks, took orders, and cleared tables, but she kept a discreet eye on Jayson's booth. Customers whispered among themselves, some trying to sneak glances or snap photos despite the efforts of his security team. Emma did her best to keep the situation under control, politely asking patrons to respect his privacy whenever necessary. But despite her efforts, one patron sitting by the window managed to capture a clear photo of Jayson with his coffee. They quickly uploaded it to social media with a caption like, "Guess who's at Cherry Hill Eats right now?" Emma noticed the flash of the phone but couldn't do much to stop it. Within minutes, the room seemed to buzz with an electric tension as people realized the photo had been posted. Whispers grew louder, and a few more phones appeared. Jayson's security team stiffened, clearly aware that the situation was escalating. "Everything okay?" Emma asked one of the guards as she brought over a refill for Jayson's coffee. "Not ideal," he admitted, glancing around the room. Emma felt a pang of guilt, though she wasn't sure why. She had done her best to make Jayson comfortable, but she could see the growing discomfort on his face. The whispers, the stares, it was clear he hated being treated like a spectacle. When Jayson finished his coffee, he stood up, nodded politely to Emma, and quietly left the diner with his team. The bell jingled as the door shut behind them, but the buzz inside the diner didn't die down. Customers were still talking, some pulling up social media to check for updates on the photo. Emma sighed, her shoulders heavy with the weight of what had just happened. She had only wanted to help, to make him feel like a regular person for a little while. But now the diner was filled with a tension she couldn't shake. By the end of her shift, the whispers had turned into murmurs of excitement. Emma overheard someone say the diner might be on the news because of Jayson's visit. It was clear that her attempt to protect his privacy had fallen short, and she couldn't help but feel like she had failed in some way. As she untied her apron and grabbed her bag, she brushed off the nagging guilt. She had done what she could. What she didn't know, however, was that the events of that day were about to set off a chain reaction that would change her life forever. The next morning, Emma walked into the diner expecting another ordinary day, but the tense atmosphere immediately set her on edge. Her boss, Greg, stood near the counter, his arms crossed and his expression hard. Emma barely had time to put her bag down before he called her over. "Emma, my office." "Now," he said sharply, his tone leaving no room for questions. Her stomach sank as she followed him to the cramped back office, the familiar smell of stale coffee and grease suddenly suffocating. Greg didn't wait for her to sit before launching into a tirade. "What were you thinking yesterday?" he snapped, glaring at her. Emma blinked, caught off guard. "Thinking about what?" "Don't play dumb," Greg said, his voice rising. "You made a spectacle out of this place by moving that celebrity kid to a private booth. Now we're dealing with phone calls, reporters, and unwanted attention. This is a diner, Emma, not a circus." Emma's jaw dropped. "I wasn't trying to draw attention," she protested. He looked uncomfortable, and I thought I was helping him feel more at ease. Greg shook his head, his expression grim. "Helping him? You created a distraction that's bad for business. I can't have this kind of disruption here." Emma felt the blood drain from her face. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," she said, her voice trembling. "Well, it did," Greg replied coldly. "And I can't risk it happening again. I'm letting you go, effective immediately." Emma froze, his words hitting her like a punch to the gut. "You're firing me?" "You leave me no choice," Greg said with a shrug, as if it was a minor inconvenience for him. Tears welled in Emma's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She grabbed her bag and walked out of the office, her pride barely intact. As she stepped into the cold January air, the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. She had lost her job for showing kindness, for trying to make someone's day a little better. The unfairness of it all burned in her chest, but there was nothing she could do. Her mind raced with questions. How would she pay rent? What would she do next? For now, all Emma could do was walk home, her heart heavy with despair. Little did she know, the events of that day were setting her life on a course she could never have imagined. Emma sat on her worn-out couch, staring blankly at her laptop. Job listings filled the screen, but each one seemed more unattainable than the last. The knot in her stomach tightened with every scroll. How could she have lost her job for trying to do the right thing? The unfairness of it all weighed heavily on her chest. The sudden ring of her phone broke her train of thought. She hesitated, glancing at the unfamiliar number displayed on the screen. With everything going wrong, she didn't feel up for a random call, but something told her to pick up. "Hello?" Emma said cautiously, her voice tinged with exhaustion. "Hi, is this Emma Carter?" a calm, professional voice on the other end asked. "Yes, this is Emma," she replied, sitting up straighter. "My name is Michelle Peters. I'm calling on behalf of Jayson Tatum," the woman said. Emma froze, her heart skipping a beat. "He asked me to reach out to you about an opportunity he'd like to discuss." Emma's mind raced. Jayson Tatum? Why would he want to talk to me? She struggled to find her words. "Wait. I don't understand. Why me?" Michelle's tone softened, as if she sensed Emma's confusion. "Jayson was moved by your kindness at the diner yesterday. You treated him with respect and empathy, something he deeply values. He believes people like you make a difference in the world, and he'd like to meet with you to discuss how you can be a part of something bigger." Emma felt her heart pounding. A meeting? What kind of opportunity? "All I can say for now is that it's related to his community outreach work," Michelle replied. "The meeting will explain everything. Are you available tomorrow afternoon?" Emma hesitated, her mind spinning with doubts. Was this real? Could she trust it? But deep down, a spark of hope began to flicker. "Yes," she said finally. "I'm available." Michelle gave her the details of the meeting, thanked her, and hung up. Emma sat there, clutching the phone, her thoughts swirling. For the first time all day, she felt something she hadn't in a long time: hope. This call could be the chance she desperately needed. Little did she know, this meeting would mark the beginning of a journey that would change her life forever. The next day, Emma found herself standing in front of a sleek office building, her nerves stretched thin. She clutched her thrifted blazer tightly, trying to keep her hands from trembling. As she entered the polished lobby, the reflection in the glass doors barely felt like her own. Could this really be happening? After checking in with the receptionist, Emma was led to a conference room on the top floor. The room was modern and bright, with large windows overlooking the city skyline. Sitting at the head of the table was a familiar face, Jayson Tatum. He stood up as she entered, his warm smile instantly putting her at ease. "Emma, thank you for coming," he said, extending his hand. Emma shook his hand, her voice barely steady. "Of course. Thank you for, well, everything." Jayson gestured for her to sit and began speaking. "I wanted to personally meet you because what you did at the diner wasn't just an ordinary act of kindness. You treated me like a regular person, not a spectacle. That might not seem like much, but to me, it meant everything." Emma nodded, unsure of how to respond. She had only done what felt right, but hearing it meant so much to him was humbling. Jayson continued, his tone becoming more serious. "Kindness like that is rare, Emma, and it's something the world needs more of. That's why I'd like to offer you a role in one of my community initiatives. We focus on helping underprivileged youth, mentoring them, and providing opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise." Emma's eyes widened. You want me to work with you?" "Yes," Jayson said firmly. "We need someone with your heart and empathy, someone who truly understands how small actions can create big changes. This isn't just a job, it's a chance to make a difference." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. For years, she had dreamed of a career that allowed her to help others, but life had never given her that chance. And now, here it was, handed to her by someone she never imagined meeting. Her voice wavered as she spoke. "I don't know what to say. This is everything I've ever wanted." Jayson smiled. "Then say yes." Emma nodded, her heart full of gratitude. "Yes. Absolutely, yes." For the first time in what felt like forever, Emma felt like her life was finally moving in the right direction. The kindness she had shown in a quiet diner had come full circle, opening a door she never thought possible. Emma embraced her new role with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. Working with Jayson Tatum's community initiative, she helped organize mentorship programs, career workshops, and recreational activities for underprivileged youth. Seeing the smiles on the kids' faces and knowing she was part of something that could change their lives brought her immense joy. Each day was a new challenge, but Emma poured her heart into the work. She met parents who shared stories of struggle, children who dreamed of brighter futures, and volunteers who were inspired by the organization's mission. Emma felt like she was finally making a difference, living out the purpose she had always envisioned for herself. One afternoon, as she returned to her small desk at the office, she found a neatly folded envelope with her name on it. Curious, she opened it to find a handwritten letter from Jayson Tatum. "Dear Emma. Your kindness and empathy at that diner left a lasting impression on me. You reminded me that even in a world often filled with noise and judgment, simple acts of humanity can make a profound difference. You've brought that same compassion to this organization, and the impact you've had on the lives of these kids is immeasurable. I'm grateful for what you've done and for the ripple effect your kindness continues to create. Thank you for being the person this world needs more of. Warm regards. Jayson Tatum." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she read the letter. She realized that her small act of kindness, offering a quiet booth to someone who needed it, had set her on a path she never could have imagined. Emma smiled, knowing she would carry this lesson with her forever. Kindness truly has the power to change lives. This story reminds us that even the smallest acts of kindness can create ripples that change lives in ways we can't imagine. Whether it's offering a helping hand, showing empathy, or simply treating someone with respect, your actions can make a lasting impact. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced or witnessed an act of kindness that changed someone's life? Share your story in the comments below. And if this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting stories that showcase the power of compassion. Together, we can create a world where kindness always matters.